Hello, everybody. You're welcome to Just for Men Africa. And today on the show, we're on an interview all the way from Nairobi. We have with us Wangi Kirubu, who is a visual storyteller. He'll be telling us about his journey, how he got started, his views on AI, and anything that comes out during the interview. So stick around and we'll be right back. Hey, everybody. You're welcome back to Just for Men Africa. Hello, Wangi. You're welcome to Just for Men Africa.
Thank you very much for having me, Olarikan. I appreciate the opportunity.
You're welcome. It's a pleasure having you on the show here, Wangi. Okay, Wangi, you've been in business for almost a decade taking photographs as a visual storyteller. Could you tell us how did you get started and why did you decide to go into the photography business?
Actually, my journey started about 24 years ago when I left college. I started working at an advertising agency. Back then, it was a very glamorous thing to do working at an advertising agency. It still is glamorous. And I did that for 4 years. From the agency, I moved into radio, working at some of the top radio stations here in Nairobi, working as a writer. Then, when working as a writer, cooperator, coming up with scripts and concepts for different adverts for our clients, is when the passion for photography beat me. And the passion now, the bite was so great that I decided to actually quit my job. And with the savings that I had, I actually bought my very first digital camera. I toyed around with photography before that, shooting at motorsport events, shooting at family events, but it wasn't anything serious. But once I quit my job and now I decided to actually earn a living off photography, that is when I actually now started getting serious and I was able to team up with a couple of friends. I was able to shoot billboards. I was able to shoot brochures, more commercial work, work that was able to actually now put some money and food, money in my pocket and food on the table.
Okay.
So it started off. Sorry to cut you short. So it started off as a hobby. It was just something it was just a passion that I had. But the passion was so great that I decided to actually try and earn a living out of it, and that is what I did.
All right. Well said, Wangi. Wangi, could you tell us, you did mention that you quit your job, to start photography full time. How did you arrive at that decision? Did you wait till you had a certain amount of money in your savings account, or you just got up one morning and just said, do you know what? I'm quitting my job. I'm doing this.
Well, it's quite crazy. It's a crazy story. It's a story of crazy faith. It's a story of believing in something so much that you're willing to risk all to actually achieve it. Because as I said, I used up almost my entire savings to buy my first professional digital camera. It was about $1,200 back then. That was not little money. Neither is it then, and even now it's not little money. But I was like, there's this thing that I believe in so much that I derive so much passion and so much joy from it that I was like, you know what? This is worth my everything. This is worth my life. I'd rather give my life to something that I am very passionate about. I was like, yes, I'm getting a steady income at the end of the month, and my level and my position in the company is rising. But if I keep at it, I will not know what would have been. I might have been still at the same job, earning 6 or 7 figures at the end of every month. But at the back of my mind and within my heart, deep in my heart, I'd be asking, what would have happened if I actually pursued my passion? So while I was still young, not very young, I think I was 29, I quit my job and decided, you know what, this is what I'm going to do. And then decided to pursue it. I did not have a huge bank account. I'd already used up almost all my savings to buy the camera. I remember even at one time we shot a motorsport event here in Nairobi, the Safari Rally. And when I went home, I had only, I think, 40 shillings in my account. 40 shillings is maybe like almost like 30 US cents in my account. And, but I still had joy within me because I had done something that I was happy about. So at the end of the day, I did something that was pleasing to myself, pleasing to my heart. It was going to bring me a lot of satisfaction at the end of the day, and decided it is worth risking my all to pursue something that's a passion.
Well said, Wangi. Okay, Wangi, when you started back then, almost 2 decades ago, I mean, there was no stuff like, there was no social media active, Instagram, Facebook, and the rest of them, or Twitter. How were you able to market yourself back then? Was it by word of mouth? I mean, now it's much more easier because, I mean, there's Instagram and social media around. But how were you able to market yourself back then?
As you said, it is actually word of mouth. And word of mouth is actually the very best marketing tool that you can have. It's also the very best form of advertising. Word of mouth. So as much as you have Instagram and Facebook and Twitter and other different platforms, something that somebody tells you by word of mouth is actually what you believe. That held true then, and it still holds true today. So how I was able to get my name out is through word of mouth. So the clients that I was able to serve, definitely they meet in the social circles or meet in the offices or speak on phone and say, hey, I saw the work that was done, a billboard that was shot 2 weeks ago for your brand. Who did it for you? Please give me the contact of that photographer. That is how it went. And even up to today, as photographers, we cannot fully rely on having beautiful images on Instagram or Twitter or wherever to be able to draw clients. We need to make sure that our clients, the clients whom we serve, give a good word and a good account about the work that you're doing. That way you're guaranteed more business. Your work sells yourself, not your Instagram account or your Twitter account.
Okay, you actually answered my next question. I was going to ask you what really works for you then and now. Is it still word of mouth or social media?
It's still word of mouth. Word of mouth is still very strong and very believable, but social media has the ability to draw clients whom you most likely have no connection with. So people who are just browsing and looking for a good photographer or a good storyteller will most likely find you on Instagram or Twitter and then now get in touch with you. So social media cannot, the importance of social media cannot be undermined. It is still very important in getting your name out and also opening doors in places where you most likely had no access before.
Okay. All right, Wangi, could you tell us, when you first started, I mean, I can see your office at your background, really lovely. Could you tell us the equipment you started off with? I mean, your humble beginnings. What was it like?
Oh, back then, and even still right now, the most important tool that I have in my bag is passion. I need to be passionate about what I'm doing. Also, the second most important thing is also excellence. Being excellent in each and every project that I do. That is very important to me. But in terms of photography gear, I started out with a Canon 350D. It was an 8 megapixel camera, and with two lenses, a Tamron, I think 28 to 75, and a 75 to 300 Tamron lenses. And I did work with them for several years until it got to a point whereby the talent, like I got to a point whereby the cameras were actually slowing down. The gear that I had was slowing me down. That is when I now decided to upgrade, I think, to a Canon 40D and other Canons over the years. But as I said, the most important thing is passion and excellence.
I agree with you. Do you still have that Canon 350B?
350D, no, I don't have it. I actually donated it to an upcoming photographer to be able to now help him get started in the business.
Oh, that's nice of you. That's nice of you. Okay. All right, let's move on to current trends. There's a lot of talk about artificial intelligence, AI, and it's estimated that it will take away majority of jobs on the market globally, about 60%. Do photographers really have a future in photography?
I believe the future of photography it may not be as bright as it was 2 years ago, but it is still bright. And that is because photography is actually very wide. Here in Africa, we still have a majority of photographers working on a one-on-one basis. So you'll not find them on Instagram. Maybe they'll have a Facebook page or a Twitter page, but that is not where they mostly apply their business. It's people who you call to your homes and they come and take photos of you and your family. It's people who you call to parties. It's who you call to funerals. It's people who are there outside the universities and the colleges during graduation day, taking pictures of people and selling them immediately. That is where the majority of Africa's photography industry lies. But we still have what we might call sort of like a niche photographers, who are people like, say, myself, people who are working in offices. We are a small majority, but maybe we command a greater percentage of the revenue that photographers get. So for us, yes, AI is going to and is already affecting the kind of revenue that we get because of companies saying it is AI is an easier way of generating images that they want, easier and also faster and more affordable. So that is going to affect our revenue streams. It will continue affecting our revenue streams, and even most likely to a greater detail than it has over the past year or so. Because as the AI tools keep on getting even better and better with reproducing, especially African images, and more uh, the images looking more realistic and not very. We've had a challenge with social media, with stock image websites over the past, ever since they started, whereby you cannot get a picture of a Kenyan. If you're looking for a picture of a Kenyan to use in a billboard or something, it will most likely get you a Black American or somebody from the Caribbean. But now AI is at a point whereby you can actually get a Kenyan looking character. You can get a Nigerian or a Ghanaian or a Tanzanian or a Ugandan looking person. That is the beauty of AI. It's getting to places whereby stock photography has not been able to, things that stock photography has not been able to do over the past couple of years. So yes, we will see an impact on our revenue streams. It is just a challenge for us to be able to sort of like adapt and adopt AI in our workflow. I know there are people in different agencies and communication and advertising agencies who are now using AI to actually generate concepts. The concepts are presented to the client. The client says, yeah, this is good. Can we actually go ahead and use this instead of having to now pay a photographer and pay models and a casting agent at a studio to do the work? Can we just use these images that have been generated on AI and actually do that? So that's reduced revenue for us, as I said, reduced revenue for models, for casting agents, for studios. The list it's a comprehensive list of people who are actually going to be affected negatively by AI. But there is still a good percentage of photographers who will not be affected in the immediate. People who are doing things like, say, beauty and fashion products. So if it's a skincare product where they're trying to show the effect it has on skin, it won't be believable if somebody uses an AI image for that. If it's things like architecture, where you actually want to represent in reality, not through 3D modeling or anything, what a place looks like, then that we still need a photographer. Also for news, if you want to show what is happening currently, AI will not cut it. If you want to show things in sports or in business, then AI will not cut it. But for commercial work, then AI is already having an impact on the revenues that commercial photographers have.
So what you're saying is, for future photographers coming into business, they need to specialize in a certain area. There's weddings or funerals or motorsports or something, and for them, if they do that, they'll be able to, generate an income.
Well, not necessarily, because maybe let's say to start with, that would be good, because it'll be a way of actually building your revenue. Because whenever you're starting off, you say you have maybe your camera, you're having a camera, you want to buy your own camera, then it's good to get into a sector of photography, which will actually have you generating enough income for you to get your own equipment or to upgrade the equipment that you have. If your target is to get into commercial photography within this year, then maybe I'd advise you to reconsider, because that may not be that is a sector of photography that is going to be negatively affected by AI. So you will be fighting together with the industry greats who've been there for the past 10 years, 5 years, or even more, to try and capture a piece of a shrinking market. So as you said, weddings, funerals, and the like, or social events that require 100% human authenticity. That is where I'd say try and get in on that, and not things whereby anything AI can actually just quickly replace you.
Okay. All right. Let's move the interview into and talk a little more about entrepreneurship. What was it actually like starting off? What are some of the challenges you encountered?
Oh, many closed doors, many closed doors. Because when we started out, uh, a lot of photographers in Kenya, the professional photographers, were actually Caucasian. So as an African photographer, trying to get work from any big brands was a challenge. But people kept pushing, kept knocking on the doors, and some doors got opened, many doors got shut. So that was a challenge. Another challenge we faced was the lack of uh, knowledge sharing. So there were other photographers who'd gone ahead of us, people who were working for newspapers, especially. There are people who actually had steady jobs, steady incomes. They were known. They've been a photographer for a while, but trying to get information from them was a challenge. Trying to get tips from them on photography was a challenge. Back then, we did not have tools like YouTube or Facebook for tutorials. You just got your camera and it came with a manual. That is the only tool you had to learn photography, which was a challenge because it's just a black and white document with numbers and letters and instructions. This is how to turn the camera on. This is how to take a picture. So that was limiting. So getting somebody to offer mentorship or just to even offer apprenticeship or even just sharing the knowledge they have about photography was a challenge. But I'm thankful that nowadays there's YouTube, there's photographer groups on WhatsApp and other social media platforms. People are actually able to share with one another their learnings and are able to now stop people who are actually coming up in photography from making the very same mistakes that they did. We made the mistakes, we burnt our fingers. I remember when we started off, I used to shoot film. And film is very unforgiving because you shoot, but you don't know what you're shooting. You'll only know what you're shooting after you've taken your film to be processed at the photo library, at the photo laboratory. So I went for an event about half an hour from Nairobi. It was a motorsport event. It was a rally, and I shot. I think it was 2 or 3 films. So you're having maybe like 100. You take your images, your films to the photo lab, hoping to get 100 images back, but you go in the evening to collect your films, your images. You're told, sorry, there's nothing. You just shot blank, or maybe it was all the images were underexposed or overexposed. So it's a painful lesson, and especially when there's nobody to actually tell you what you did wrong, it makes it even more painful. But nowadays with digital, there is at least the ability of seeing what you're shooting immediately and actually making any corrections that you need to do on the fly.
Wow, those must be a lot of learning experiences. Wow. You've been in business for over 25 years. What sort of photographs do you enjoy shooting? I noticed you do a lot of motorsports, but what do you really love shooting more?
I love telling stories. So for me, the photography is it's not just a photograph that I'm capturing. It's capturing moments. It's trying to capture emotions in an image, emotions that would actually now tell a story. Uh, uh, so it will not be just one image. It will maybe be a series of images that are able to captivate audiences, that are able to communicate a message. That is what I enjoy doing. So I first familiarize myself with the story that needs to be told and give and sit with the client and give direction. Like, I think these are the kind of images we need to capture to be able to actually tell your story. Then once the client is in agreement, to go ahead and do that. So that is what I do mostly to be able to put food on the table. But aside from that, what I have a passion for, things that I do almost for free, is now shooting motorsports. Kenya hosts the Safari Rally, which is one of the biggest motorsport events in the world, part of the World Rally Championship calendar. And I'm happy that I've gotten to shoot it every single year since 2020. And even before that, while I was still starting out, I was still shooting the rally because it is something that I grew up with. It's something that my dad took us to enjoy. And it's just a pleasure that right now I'm actually doing it and trying to tell the story of the rally from a Kenyan perspective.
I like that from the Kenyan perspective. Thank you a lot, Wangi, for being with us on the show. Really appreciate it. We look forward to interviewing again in future.
Thank you very much for having me and have a lovely day.
You too. And to all of you who are watching, do not forget to like, subscribe, tell a friend who knows a friend about Just for Men Africa. And to the next show from Wangi and I, all of them with Nairobi, Kenya, it will be, bye.
Akwaba.